Welcome back to another episode of Vikings Happy Hour. Tonight, we're going to talk about whether or not we should cut, restructure, or trade some of the impending free agents. And I forgot to mention already, this show and all other shows are sponsored by Lake Monster Brewing, and that's Badass Wood Art. So let's dive right into it, Ryan. A lot of conversation has happened this season or this offseason about what to do with these aging veterans. We got Adam Thielen, we got Harrison Smith, we got Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. It just kind of goes down the list. And yesterday in Brian Flores' press conference, he alluded that they have the guys on roster that they want. While that may be true, they could also be cutting some guys they have on roster. And that statement would still be accurate. So let's play a little game and go down the line. We'll start with the hometown hero, Adam Smith. Adam
Smith. Are you
I was
drunk
thinking
already?
I was thinking Harrison Smith. Adam Thielen, geez Louise. It's only noon when we're recording this. I promise. All I've had is coffee today.
Maybe not enough. Yeah, so Adam Thielen, what do we do with Adam Thielen? So there's been reports out there that have been saying, hey, maybe he's going to be willing to take a pay cut. He wants to stick around. He feels like he can still contribute to a contender or to a team and help them make them a contender. But I thought I saw somewhere where he bought a property down in Florida, which again, I don't think that necessarily means that he's going to a Florida team. That probably just means he's sick of the cold up here, living it for 30 almost 33
prepping
years.
Prepping for retirement.
Life. But prepping, yeah, maybe that. So here's the thing: he's $18 million against the cap, I think, this year, and I think his actual salary is like 10 or something like that. So this is the effect of when we talk about restructuring people. Listeners listening on this. When we restructure people, this is what happens. So we convert that money. We push more money down the line. So eventually, a $10 million salary goes 18 million against the cap against us. So that's unbearable. So we got to do something.
Yeah, and he's not coming back at 19 million.
Against the cap, he can't do that, right? No, yeah. So the options are: do we restructure him, meaning not a restructure in the sense I just talked about, but more so tell him, hey, you got to take a pay cut. If you want to stay with us, take a pay cut. And I look at that idea and I say, how far is he going to be willing to go? Because I don't know if he's even worth 6 the way he played last year. I don't know. I don't know if he's worth that the way he played last year. So, and again, and part of it wasn't necessarily him. It might have been scheme or whatever. But from what he did and from how he flashed last year, I mean, you could get that in the 3rd, 4th round of the draft this year and not pay $6 million. So is he willing to take that much of a pay cut? I don't think he is. I think he'd rather go and see what he can get elsewhere, which again, that's probably going to be where his market's at, is probably around that.
I think the other thing quick to note though on Adam Thielen, I almost did it again. What is going on? Not Adam Smith. Adam Thielen is, if we cut him, just outright, we almost have to do it with a post-June 1st designation to really see benefit, because I think if we cut him prior to that, and I'm just pulling it up here.
It's like 11 or 12 million dead cap.
Yeah,
maybe 13. Yeah,
13 and a half dead cap, and they're not going to eat that. So it really is a restructure opportunity. To your point, how far will Thielen go? And then it's a cut post-June 1st designation.
I think if we do it post June 1st, it's only like 6 million. But essentially what that means is
that we could extend them.
Yeah, I just don't think that. I mean, if we extend them for like 9 million over 3 years, and that's too short. But you know what I mean, like 15 million over 3 years, something like that. I just don't see a way he's playing with us next year. I think it's a cut, because I don't think he has enough trade value given the contract. So I think it's a cut situation, because I just don't see him taking a big enough pay cut. Mm-hmm. I don't see us being interested in extending. And I just don't think again, take that money and go. You can even go pay somebody in the open market that's going to be out there who somewhat equivalent skill set for less money.
So it's safe to say that when we release this episode, we can say that you are advocating on cutting.
Here's the thing. I went to college with Adam. I don't know him or anything, but I think I even hooped against him a time or two, right? And my kid has gone to his camps every year that he's been able to, basically. So I'm a big Adam Adam Thielen fan and supporter. It's just, again, this is a business, as we've all said. So sometimes you got to make tough decisions, and we're gonna have a lot of those. Probably this next one we're gonna talk about, which I'm gonna just jump the gun here and bring up the next guy because it's somebody you love, and it's Eric Kendricks. So your guy, Eric Kendricks.
I knew this was coming.
Yeah. So again, same question back to you. Are we gonna restructure? Are we gonna cut? Are we gonna extend? Are we gonna trade Eric Kendricks?
I think many fans, if you ask them, would say this is like the one with a bullet that they're like, yep, Kendricks is getting cut. I want to push back on that for a few different reasons. I know when you look at the numbers, he's the clearest path to getting like $10 million saved up. I think you can cut him for like 1.9 dead and get about 9.5 million back in cap saving. But I think there's this lie going around that Eric Kendricks played poorly last year. And I don't think he did. I really don't. Like, I think he's still well worth the $11 million that he's going to get paid in this last year of his deal. Because I think this is his last year, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And I'm almost willing to see it out because we're switching to Brian Flores, which is in a little bit aggressive style defense, which I really think Kendricks will flourish in. I don't want to see him extended necessarily because I just think that he's getting up there in age. It's time to find a replacement for him.
And we already have.
You think Asamoah is going to play middle linebacker?
I mean, again,
I guess
in a 3-4,
it probably doesn't matter as much. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I know we said that we're going to do cut, restructure, trade. I guess we could do extension, but like, can I do none of the above? Can I just like leave them?
You certainly can. I sure hope that the team doesn't, but yeah, if that's what your decision is,
because restructuring does nothing. You want to cut them?
I want to trade them if we can.
What are you going to give for Eric Kendricks?
Any capital to add to our 4
6th-round picks?
I think you can get more than that. Maybe not much more than that, but you could probably get.
That's my issue with offseason. Fans, I see these PFF mocks out there all the time, and they think that like we can fleece every team in the NFL. Like they don't like. I see draft picks getting traded for players, and it's like that's not gonna happen, guys. Yeah. That's not gonna happen this offseason.
No, I agree. I don't think Kendricks is worth like obviously not a first, not a second. I don't think he's even worth a third, but I think you can maybe do like a conditional 4th, a 5th that can turn into a 4th if he, gets 100 tackles or something, weird that they put in there in a clause. Here's the thing is, it's rare, kind of like running backs for me. Linebackers, I think, are probably a bit more important than running backs are, just because I think there's more good running backs than there are more good linebackers. But I think linebackers are replaceable, and unless you're like an all-star Fred Warner, which again, that's what Kendricks was a couple years ago, so I didn't mind signing him to the big contract. But at this point in his career, when we can save 9.5, let him go. Let him, maybe go latch onto a contender himself, chase a ring, right? And we can get hopefully maybe some draft capital back. If not, we get a lot of cap space because we're going to need that. We have some big extensions coming up.
And we're not going to talk about it on this episode, but when we think about cutting Eric Kendricks potentially, you got to find someone to replace him. Yeah. And so we'll have to dive into free agent linebackers. I know we've mentioned, especially in our Flores press reaction video yesterday, Andrew Van Ginkel from the Dolphins. But I don't know. It's just weird because we're faced with like these guys that have been with us for almost a decade. And we got to make these weird decisions on them. And it's weird to just say.
And we have an emotional attachment to them, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, it's you don't want to see guys that you've grown
especially up, Adam Smith. I really have an emotional attachment to Adam Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you have that emotional attachment, it makes it more difficult. So
all right, so far in summary, we have a cut on Adam Thielen, or no? Did we say cut? Yeah, cut on Adam.
I mean, I said it cut him. Yeah,
with a post June 1st designation. We're split on Eric Kendricks, but I'll remove the fan in me and look from a business perspective, and so I'll agree. Cut Eric Kendricks. Let's switch to Harrison Smith, who everybody is raving about the potential that he'll have in a Brian Flores defense, but he is due $19 million this year.
Is that's not against a cap though, right?
That is his cap hit.
19?
Yeah.
God, I should have done my research.
His base salary is 14.7.
I don't know, man. Again, that's just another thing. Like, yes, to your point, his skill set fits his scheme so well, just from his ability to kind of play that joker role of, what's he going to do? Is he going to go in coverage? Is he going to blitz? Is he going to play box? What's he going to do? He does that very well. He did it really well for Zimmer for many, many years.
You also have Lewis Cine coming back.
You have Lewis Cine coming back. You have Cam Bynum. There's some safeties in the draft that might be interesting. And free agency. There's some safeties in free agency that potentially could be interesting.
Yep.
It's hard to stomach 19 million against the cap when I think we can save like 7. So again, that's a pretty big dead cap hit.
Yeah. So it's a very similar situation to Adam Thielen here, where if you're cutting him, you're taking on more dead cap than you are cap savings. So
yeah,
he'd probably be somebody that they look to just restructure.
Yeah, or again, another trade candidate. But again, that contract's pretty untradeable, to be honest. But yeah, and again, and if you're trading these guys, it doesn't make a difference on dead cap. The dead cap is the dead cap unless you trade them post June 1st or whatever. But so either way, you're still not. The only difference here is you're maybe getting some compensation for it. So that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know, because I do see him fitting well into this team, but that cap number is just ridiculous. So they may look at seeing what they can do. Extension maybe. I don't know.
I think,
but again, he's old. Like, he's getting old.
Well, that was the surprise when they signed him to that extension. But I think the part that we don't know is, do these guys want to be here? Like, how close do these guys think we are to actually competing for a championship? Because as they get older, they want like locks. They want to know. So, I mean, these guys probably want to go to like KC. They want to go to, Philadelphia, maybe.
Cincy,
Cincy, all those types of places where they actually compete for a ring or can compete for a ring. So that's a factor that I guess we just don't know. My sense is that they're probably just going to restructure Harrison Smith. They're going to approach him. I think he probably wants to play in Flores' defense because that's where he thrives, right? In that aggressive kind of free roaming type player that he is. But yeah, I mean, when you look at those guys, that's probably the only one that I'm like, yeah, I feel like he'll be back.
I feel confident he'll be back. I just hope that it's in a way that helps us out.
Yeah. One guy for sure that I'm like, we don't have to waste any time talking about him. Jordan Hicks is gone, right? Like, there's no way that they bring him back.
The only reason I can see it is if they do move on from Kendricks and they want a veteran leader in that locker room. That's the only way I can see it. But again, I think you can save $6 million pretty quick on him.
Yeah.
So with minimal cap hit. So, but essentially, if you're doing that the way we're saying we're going to do it, you're leaving a room with Asamoah as the most tenured and experience on the team. That's probably not a great thing. So you got to bring in some sort of veteran leader, and then probably put some capital in the draft on that. Overshone, Sewell, Pace, one of those linebacker types.
For sure. We have a few more guys that I want to touch on. So we'll start with the elephant in the room, which I think took a hit the other day, but Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook now with his, I forget the specifics, but he went in for shoulder surgery, which essentially ruined any chance of us cutting him, I think is what it was.
Well, I think it guaranteed $2 million of his contract, essentially. Yep. So basically, on top of whatever we were going to,
that's a big brain move by Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. So whatever we were going to do, basically, we're adding $2 million basically onto whatever that was. So
yeah. So I still don't see a scenario where he's back.
It's just a big cap hit again, like another big cap hit. That's the issue.
Well, we scrutinized these back in the day when they happened with all of these guys. Why are we signing them to these big numbers as they get older or as they play in a position like running back that just isn't important? When you look at the stat that came out the other day, they went back the last 15 Super Bowls, and the leading rusher on those teams and what their cap hit was. And I think the most was like $2 million for a guy. Most like everything else is under that threshold. So
Yeah,
Kevin O'Connell,
and the only time you're ever going to get a running back that makes more, and granted, it hasn't happened, but the only way you will, like for example, if the Bengals won last year,
yeah,
Mixon makes a lot, but that's because they have a rookie QB cap
you're
hit,
right.
right? So it's one of those two. You can't have both, and right now we do, which is an issue.
Dalvin Cook might be the one guy that I could see a trade happening.
Yeah, again, the cap hit's pretty big. Draft's pretty full of good running backs. Free agency is going to be really full of good running backs. Maybe if a team gets desperate and really thinks he's got that like last year that can get him over the hump and make a Super Bowl run potentially, a team like the Dolphins. But I don't know because they plug and play Jeff Wilson and he does fine. Raheem Mostert, he does fine.
Yeah,
And then another team that maybe you look at is the Bills, and he can go play with his brother. His brother kind of being more of the shifty pass catching back with Hines, and then he kind of comes in as more of the between tackles guy. But I don't know where their cap hit will, or I don't know how they can fit him into the cap. But we'll see. I would try to trade him if you could.
You're okay. So if you are Kwesi right now, you're saying trade him,
If
or
you
at
can.
least if you can.
Even if it's for like basically nothing, 6th round pick, 7th round pick, like get something for him. Go, use that 7th round pick on Braden Willis and prosper.
I tell you what, I just cut him. I'd absolutely just cut him.
I mean, obviously, you should always explore the trade first, right? But if you can't find a trade that works, just get rid of him. Yep.
Yeah, I'm here for cutting him. I think he didn't look what I thought he should be last year, and we just don't utilize the run that much. It doesn't make sense to pay that kind of money to a running back that we don't utilize that much. So
yeah, and that goes to the next point too, right? Like the next guy on our list potentially, I don't know if you were going to go this way, is CJ Ham.
Yep, I was actually. So
there you go. Yeah, so that's what I think
$3 million in savings.
3 million in savings, but he had like under 200 snaps, right? Like on offense, right? So you're paying that kind of money for, and I've talked about this in other shows, so we'll be quick, but you cut him, and I hate that because I like CJ Ham. I think he's a good community guy and all of that, local kid, whatever. So it stinks to kind of hear that actually he's like good friends with one of my neighbors actually. So like their daughters do gymnastics and all that together. So it's one of those things where it's like you'd hate for him to have to go elsewhere, and maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just calls it a career. But you can get significant savings and go draft again. I just mentioned Braden Willis, where he could play that H-back type where he's playing tight end. He can step into fullback as needed. Grab a guy like that.
Last two we can tackle here, and then we can round it out. I'm just going to bunch them together. But Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter. Zadarius Smith, you can actually get quite a bit of money.
Like $12 million, right?
Yeah, $12 million with a $3 million dead cap hit. They structured that perfectly in the event that he didn't pan out. I still think he's probably worth it, like to keep around. So
I just really am concerned with how he finished the year off. That I think that injury lingered longer. He's getting another year older, so are those injuries just going to keep piling up and lingering? I love what he brings to the team from a leadership and an energy perspective, but 13 million in savings, and you can maybe go get a guy not half the age, but like 3 years younger, 4 years younger at half the price, and maybe he's not going to be as good. He's going to be as good, if not better, than Zadarius was in the second half of the year. He won't reach as well as he did in the first half, but that's the route I probably would go. I'd probably trade him or cut him. Trade him, then cut him.
Interesting.
Yep. It's a lot of savings. That's a lot of savings.
It is, but you got to replace that then.
I know.
I think that's the tough part. The most tradable asset I think we do have, though, is Danielle Hunter. Still probably in his prime, but maybe peaking and coming down. But that is one where I actually do think you could get a day 2 pick out of him. You would save quite a bit of money. Actually,
no, you don't. You do not save money. You actually lose money by moving him.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah, you actually lose money by moving him unless it's like a post-June 1st thing. So yeah, it's a tough situation with him. You can still trade him, take the L on the savings or whatever, and get capital for him. But outside of that, you keep him, let him kind of hopefully flourish in this defense and address it next year.
Yeah, well, like I said, they're going to have a lot of decisions that they have to make in like the next 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and a lot of that stuff's going to happen at the combine as well. But we'll break down. We've alluded to it a lot, and it's in the plans for the coming weeks. But we'll break down, whether or not we should bring back some impending free agents such as Patrick Peterson, Garrett Bradbury. We'll also take a look at the free agent market and figure out some guys at key positions that we should maybe go out and try and target, especially with the holes that may come in the coming weeks. So,
and potentially talk about guys that we maybe want to extend, right?
Yeah.
Like in terms of people who potentially we should extend and who are in the final year of their deal, like a KJ Osborne. So
for sure. For sure. So we'll get all that covered in upcoming episodes. Miles will be back for some of those, maybe even some guests. So make sure you're liked and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will be back on the next episode of Vikings Happy Hour.